Well, hello again. This is Brian Copeland talking. Welcome to another edition of Copeland's Corner. This is episode 150. Let me check to make sure that I got straight. Yeah, it's episode 158 of the podcast and episode 3 of the YouTube version of the podcast. So welcome, whether you're listening to us, whether you're watching us, it's good to have you. Thank you for supporting us. If you were somebody who has not watched us yet and you're listening still, give us a look. We dropped the audio version of the podcast on Thursday mornings, and it's Thursday afternoon that we drop the video. So we're trying to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, because if we get 1,000 subscribers, then we can actually do the show live and we can take your input during the show, which would be an absolute blast, to have you chiming in while the comics and I are going at it. And I will be joined by a distinguished panel of comics in a couple of minutes. Just real fast, just to start with, one of my favorite pieces of news today is that Rudy Giuliani has lost the defamation suit that was filed against him by the two Georgia poll workers who he slandered, Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shay Moss, who he and Trump both just slandered all over right-wing media, claiming that they were stuffing ballot boxes for Biden. The stuff that was being said by Giuliani is just despicable. He said that they were passing USB ports around like they were vials of heroin or cocaine. That's a quote: vials of heroin or cocaine. And so what the deal was is that he was ordered by the judge to disclose what his financial situation was, what his assets were. And he kept, jerking the court around, and the court said, forget it, you lose. You lose by default. I'm tired of waiting on you. I'm tired of being jerked around. You lose by default. So now what's going to happen is there's still going to be a trial, only the trial now is to decide how much the plaintiffs are going to get from him in terms of punitive damages. And, they've lost their reputations. They've lost their names. They've had to flee their homes because you got all of these MAGA kooks who are making death threats towards them. They have literally been afraid for their lives since the 2020 election. So they've spent the last 3 years in fear, in hiding, and in fear for their lives. Just two poll workers. I mean, they come every year, every couple of years when there's an election, and they volunteer their time to help people vote. That's it. That's all they did. And instead of just it going like it normally does, they were picked on and they were targeted by the president of the United States lying about them and about his personal attorney lying about them. So I hope they get a fortune. And I also hope that there's some kind of a court order that makes Giuliani hold a press conference saying, I lied. I made all of this up. I lied. They did absolutely nothing wrong. MAGA, leave them alone. Stop harassing them. I made it all up, and I did it at the direction of the president. That's going to come out in court that he did it at the direction of the president. Trump mentioned their names 20 times, apparently, in some conversation with somebody, mentioned them by name. So, they literally got to the point where they couldn't leave the house without fear of something happening to them. This is what bullies do. This is how bullies treat people. Bullies they're called bullies for a reason. They have some kind of power or authority or strength over somebody else, and they use it to step on those who are defenseless. Well, we found out today in a court of law that these two women are not defenseless, and it's going to cost Giuliani his ass. I hope. Podcast that we call Headliners on the Headlines. Joining me, two old friends who I've not seen in forever. Ngaio Bealum, who is now up in Sacramento. I didn't even know you were in Sacramento until I called you.
It's an open secret.
It's an open secret. And Carlos Alazraqui is with us. And Carlos, I never know how to introduce you. Do I introduce you Reno 911, voiceover? How do you like to be introduced?
I think Burbank Dad.
Just
Burbank Dad. No,
All-American boy.
You know what? My prominent, thank you, All-American Boy Award in high school. You remember? You know what? A voiceover actor and actor, Carlos Alazraqui. I don't do much comedy anymore. Every once in a while, so voiceover actor.
The voice of the Taco Bell Chihuahua.
Yeah, you wind me up, Ngaio. Viva Gorditas. Next, ding.
You were talking about off the air before we started. You were talking about doing anime and about conventions and public appearances. And last year, I had you come up and do the Comedy in the Plaza
Yeah.
outdoor event that we do up here in San Leandro. And there was this kid
Right.
in his 20s who it was just something off
Yeah.
about him. And he just like stalked me because he was trying to get to you.
Yes.
And you were so cool about it. You were like, it's okay. I deal with these guys all the time. I mean,
Yeah,
does it ever get scary?
No, it doesn't. There's never any kind of violent threat or anything. It's just sort of, it's a hard word to say. It's tedious because these kids are on the spectrum. They have Asperger's. And when we go to conventions, this last one I did actually in West Palm Beach, it was called, oh gosh, I forgot what the name of the con, but
Humid Fest.
Humid Fest. Yeah. Junebug Fest.
Flying Cockroach and Anime Festival.
Yeah, the Palmetto. But these kids, a large part of my fans are on the spectrum, and they have wonderful memories. It's just a different kind of computer, and so yeah, they will stay at length and tell you things about your show and or yourself and your career that you have long since forgotten, and it's fascinating. And it can get tiring. And this gentleman was like that. He really wanted to know and let you know what he knew, but there's no filter on it, which is both wonderful and both hard at the same time. So yeah,
you got to be nice, and
it's one of those things about being on TV too. Like it's TV, you're in somebody's house. They've invited you into their home, right? Yep. So they feel like they really know you because they sit on the couch. They've sat on the couch with you. They sat on the couch with your voice for hours and hours and hours, and so that whole parasocial relationship sort of thing happens, and cats do love to info dump.
They don't have borders. They are just, they don't, sometimes they'll step over the line. They don't have boundaries. When I was doing morning television every day here in the Bay Area, I'll never forget going out with my kids and my wife to have dinner one night, and some woman pulls up a chair. Literally, I watch you every morning. I love it. Pulls up a chair and sits down.
That familiarity. I got to tell you,
she watches you every morning. You're in our house. You're like, good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
I get it.
You wake and you give her a greeting. Good morning. I'm going to tell you what's going on. Let's talk about the day.
Let's do it. I fanboyed out over Adam Copeland. I've been hearing Copeland it is part. Why am I Tolbert and Cope? And I'm listening to his voice and I go, oh, Brian Copeland's on sports radio now. And I'm hearing the laugh. I'm hearing the voice. And then he says Adam Copeland, and I'm like, holy crap, that's his kid. So I started fanboying out because I knew you. I wanted to call and go, Nutcracker tickets, Nutcracker tickets. It was so, I fanboyed out because of the familiarity. I've got to meet this kid, Adam, because I know his dad, and it's like the sound is you. It is you.
But are you going to meet Adam Copeland and then just start info dumping? I met your dad in 1985. Yes. At the Atlantic Gemini in Monterey. Actually, it was Doc Octopus's back then, and we did this and we did that, and he used to book a room in Colma.
I am going to do the Nutcracker Tchaikovsky bit right in front of him.
You know what I would say?
It's like a deer joining the NRA.
Yeah.
Here's what's funny.
He may have flirted with fascism.
Yeah.
And that is that he first met you when he was about 5 years old at Comedy Day in San Francisco, and he was a huge fan of Rocco's Modern Life.
Wow.
And was completely freaked out, fanboy, not able to put two words together, meeting you.
Yeah.
So it's a trip.
It is a trip. Because I tell people, we each have our things. I remember watching Dana Gould at the Cobb's Comedy Club on stage, 94, 95. And this voice behind me goes, hey, you're the voice of Rocco. My daughter Zelda loves Rocco. And I'm like, holy crap, it's Robin Williams and he knows who I am. The animation has that ability to cut through many levels of celebritydom and have people love what you do. Tom Kenny famously tells the story of Mike Tyson. Man, I just wanted to meet SpongeBob because I like it. My daughter likes it. It's like it gives you this ticket that gets you past the velvet ropes and the guy with the headphones.
So does weed.
Pretty amazing. So does weed. Exactly. Yeah. Here, smoke some Rocco.
If all goes well, Lisa Geduldig is going to join us. She had some family issues and wanted to join us today, so hopefully she'll pop in. If she does, we will add her into the mix. Neither of you have done the show before. The way this works is I just got some news stories that I pulled and we just talked. Let's start with this. Mitch McConnell had another moment. Have you heard about this?
Somebody on Twitter called him Glitch McConnell.
Oh, that's cold.
I didn't write it.
But it's him. I don't wish that on anyone, but he was at a press conference and he was asked a question Are you, or how do you feel about running for re-election in 2026? And he goes, huh? And the reporter asked the question again, and then he went blank.
Yeah.
For like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So an aide jumped in and goes, Senator, did you hear the question? And
Yeah.
he was just like out of it. And it's just, I mean, it's like, I don't want to see anyone like that. So I want to be real clear. But I mean, there's a book about him called The Man Who Broke America. I mean, we're as partisan as we are, and the court's so packed and everything else. But it's like, I don't want to see him. I don't want to see anybody like that. But he needs to retire.
One of two things. I figure it's either one of two things. One, he had some sort of brain hemorrhage or stroke or TIA or something like that. Two, they asked him that question, and all the memories of all the unspeakable evil and power tripping that he's done throughout the past 60 years of his career came crashing back into his brain, and the overwhelming pressure of having to face his actual true self caused him to glitch.
It was kind of like the reverse Ratatouille Peter O'Toole memory, right?
Exactly.
I remember my
younger Marcel Proust.
Because never forget, McConnell's the guy that said, like, we don't need to prosecute Trump here in Congress. We're going to let the courts take care of it. And now that the courts are taking care of it, they're complaining about that. But that was the guy that shepherded him off. He did not have the guts of a Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger, so we can't forget that. But I will say this about age. They are, Feinstein, for me, too old. Too old. Joe Biden, sorry to say, I'm on the Stephanie Miller show that I get in trouble when I say he's too old. Can he win? I hope he wins, because it's either that or autocracy. So, but I still think he's too old. That's my opinion.
I'm with you.
But he's getting stuff done.
Feinstein, man. I have voted for Feinstein every opportunity I've had, since I've been voting. And I love her body of work. I love what it is she stands for, what it is she's done. But she's 90, for God's sake. My rule is, if your kids take your keys, you shouldn't be running government. That's my rule. If you're so old that your kids take your keys.
Well, Joe Biden's still there. He's still driving that convertible, right? So he's still good. But
and riding his bicycle and being very effective as a president.
And it's unfortunately the younger guys, like I call them Ramaswamy and RFK Jr., they're just whack jobs. They're just either conspiracy.
Is RFK Jr. younger though?
Yeah, he's like 59.
He is not.
59 or 60. We could look it up, but
wow.
He's a hard 59 if he is.
No, he's 69, I think. But it's sad that the Democrats have sort of left themselves in that position. There was 4 years or even 8 years to come up with a Tammy Duckworth, the woman from Georgia who did all the stuff for voting rights, who lost the governorship. Stacey Abrams. I'm like, why not pump up Stacey Abrams 4 years ago? She would have been a great nominee, in my opinion. I really like her. She's smart.
Americans couldn't elect a white woman in 2016. You think they'd elect a black woman in 2020?
I think Gen Z would. I really do.
Gen Z still does not outnumber Gen X. And you are forgetting about the fundamental racism and sexism of this country. And I'm not trying to. It's embarrassing and it's sad, but this country would rather, like, if it can't be a white man, it has to be a
Tim Scott. Or Tim
Scott. Here is my prediction. That there was a video of Gerald Ford that went around, was viral about 6 months ago, where he was at a press conference like in 1975, and they said, "Will we see a woman president?" He said, "Yes." And he goes, "And here's how it's going to happen. There'll be a woman vice president, and then the president's going to die. And that's how we're going to get our first woman president."
I'll tell you, in talks with
80 years old, and Kamala, I can see that happening.
She's very polarizing. I can tell you, in talks with people that I know that are very close to me, unfortunately, they don't like her. And to me, she's not sincere.
It's racism and sexism. They didn't like Hillary either. Oh, why couldn't some other woman have run? And so then Kamala Harris. Well, then how come it's got to be some other woman? I would vote for a woman. I can't vote for that woman. They just say that all the time.
Well, it could be, but in terms of myself, I don't consider it racism because I like Stacey Abrams more than I like Kamala Harris, because for me, it's a level of sincerity that I
Because you're a raging leftist.
I am a raging leftist.
I'm sitting in the conservative chair, so I'm taking the moderate view.
But I do like, there's something about her that is polarizing, unfortunately. But I agree with you. Gen X is not going to want, even Gen X, who are jumping off with these latest indictments, right? Even Republicans like Jeff Duncan, with the G, jumping off. So yeah, if Trump is the nominee, then people will jump on board with a Kamala Harris, knowing that she's a possibility of.
Will they? Trump
Yeah,
got 50
no.
something percent of the white women vote.
Pardon me?
Trump got more than 50% of the white women vote.
He did.
So
He got white women voted for him over Hillary.
I had to swear off 53% of all white women after that election.
Suburban women like me. But I think they're starting to run away from it a little bit.
Well,
I think they are.
We'll see. Let me welcome Lisa Geduldig to the show. Glad that you could join us. A pleasure to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me. Hey, Brian. Hey, Carlos.
Hey, Lisa.
I've got all virgins on the show today. It's the first time. It's all virgins.
And I am not one of those white women.
Oh,
So
I believe.
Ngaio doesn't have to swear off of me.
So you did. So you didn't vote for Trump in 2016.
Oh, of course I voted for Trump in 2016. No, I won't even talk to anyone who voted for Trump.
All right, here's something that people were saying, along the same conversation about all the women who were saying, well, I want a woman, but not that woman. And I always feel uncomfortable saying this, but it's something that I hear, and I hear from women a lot. I do hear from women a lot that women hate women. And I'll ask Lisa, do you think that there is any truth to that, or is that just sexism? Is that just men being sexist?
Who says that women hate women? Is that men who say that?
That kind of feels like the phrase "black on black crime." You know what I mean?
That the reason that Hillary didn't win is because women hate women.
No.
No, the reason that Hillary didn't win is because there's misogyny in this country, and because, amazingly, we haven't had a woman president. Latin American nations have, where machismo is greater than the United States, but we haven't. And we finally have a woman vice president, a black woman vice president. But can this country handle having a woman president? I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's.
I think they can handle it, but will they vote for it?
You got to go back and look at the number, and the number is that most white women in this country voted for Donald Trump, even after the grab him by the pussy recording is out.
Most white women over the age of what? What was the age bracket?
No, it was white women.
So it was white women, but of those white women, I would say that a larger percentage of them were out of the Gen Z bracket. So the housewives, suburban housewives, or even professionals. So I would think that most white young women of college age would probably vote against him. That would be my guess. Even if it's a majority of women, even if it's a minority of women per se, I would say fewer women in the Republican Gen Z direct would vote against Trump. That's what I'm guessing. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong.
Was it that most white women voted for him, or he had a large population of his voters were white women?
Most white women voted for him in 2016. I don't know about 2020, but in 2016, the majority of white women voters voted for Trump over Hillary Clinton. And that
I'll always say this because it's not the source. None of this is surprising, because I'm going to go to religion here. When you accept that God is a man and the Savior is a son in whatever religion it is, it's no surprise to me. There's a voluntary complicity by women to accept that. They go to church. My mom was a priest. Mom was a Methodist priest, and it helped her out. But I've never understood why women voluntarily, I'm not saying probably they were groomed, why would you accept this conceit that in Christianity or even in Islam, that the Savior and God are men's? Who accepts that voluntarily? And I think therein lies the problem. And once that goes away, I think you'll see women starting to stand up for other women.
So we have to do away with religion?
Yeah.
For this to happen?
Critical thinking, man, for sure. Absolutely. Unfortunately. But I asked the woman on the panel, why is that there is a voluntary acceptance by women, some women, to accept that God is a man and the Savior is a son, when it was clearly they weren't invited to the writer's table?
I don't know. You're asking an atheist, so
yeah, right.
Answer.
Yeah, I know. I just
a Jewish atheist or agnostic. But I was late to the conversation because I was taking my mom to a medical appointment. So are we blaming white women for Trump coming into power, or are we?
The conversation started
started about age.
Mitch McConnell too old to continue? Is Di-Fi too old? Is Joe Biden too old?
Yeah, because he froze again. McConnell froze on live TV again today. He had another one of those moments.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have a whole nother round of does he need to go? And well, we can ask this question: whether or not there should be a retirement age, a mandatory retirement age. And I say, yeah.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, the board of electors vote for their new CEOs every once in a while too. Of course, they're probably a shoo-in, but why not? I think so. Term limits, all that kind of stuff. Age limits is relative, right? But certainly term limits, which would eventually nullify the need for age limits, right? If you had term limits. So, but your original question do women hate women? Other women, as much as men hate other men, it's certainly a possibility, right?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Welcome to Internalized Misogyny Talk, brought to you by 4 dudes and a woman.
Yeah.
3
and
dudes.
a woman who got here late.
Three dudes?
3 dudes and a woman.
Four dudes. Oh, no, 3. I'm staring at me, counting me as 2.
Yeah, that's okay. But that statement in and of itself, if men can hate men, why don't women have the liberty to hate other women? Why is it so controversial? Men hate men.
Yeah, right? Men hate men.
I hate Jimmy Dore. Everybody knows that. Grifter con artist.
Hey, going back to your question about religion. There are a couple of religious stories I've got to. One is there was a poll that has found that middle-aged people in large numbers, as in like the majority, and I can't give you exactly what the figure is, but the majority of middle-aged people of all faiths have stopped going to church. And it's like usually I was raised Catholic and
church or house of worship, you mean?
Yeah.
Because Jews are not.
They say church. I'm going to say house of worship.
Okay.
His mama named him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay.
Cassius Clay.
So, the way it works in Catholicism is you go because your parents make you go. Then when you hit your 20s, you drop out. Then you get married, you have kids, and you go back because of the kids, and then the kids grow up, and you start going when the grandkids.
Interesting, yeah.
But they're saying it's like, I mean, is it disillusionment? Is it that just organized religion has fallen out of favor?
It kind of parallels traveling. When you get older, you just don't need all the carry-on luggage anymore. You just travel lightly. Religion is carry-on luggage. Religion is checked baggage, rather. I'm just going to go with this light carry-on. I don't need it's the same parallel there. Yeah. I think that is a trend now. And I think it could be social media too, right? Where people spend so much time on social media that maybe they found out that they've run out of energy and or time to go to church, or maybe they feel that they get it through social media or other means, or radio or musicals or Jim Caviezel.
I would also think that's funny. People are maybe slightly disillusioned with the church. All the churches right now. You see these mega preachers who won't open the church doors for disaster victims. You see the dioceses of Catholic cities, big cities, claiming bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. So they don't have to accept responsibility for child abuse. Bankruptcy. You can't sell a church.
San Francisco, the Archdiocese of San Francisco is talking about
Oakland as well. Oakland already did it, and that's why San Francisco is doing it. A couple of other cities are looking, like Detroit's looking into that.
How are you going to tell me the Catholic Church is broke?
The Catholic Church!
And they say that you can't count the churches and you can't count the antiquities because those are there's some exemption.
Because things are more important than the mental health and well-being and safety of children.
Yeah, statues, whatever, objects.
Yeah, statues.
And they're finding it in every religion. I have a friend who's an attorney who represents victims, and he had a major case against the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah. I've always said this: God, in whatever form you want to say that God is, we've given this God thing or religion and its origins 2,000 years, and you can see where that's gotten us to sound like Vincent Gardenia in Moonstruck. And if God were a baseball manager, he'd be fired. You have under a 50-50 record. The world is crap. It's melting. People hate each other. You're not doing a good job. I'm going to Jerry Jones you, and I'm sending you to Dallas.
The argument would be, though, is that God doing that, or is that people who are fallible, right? Because a lot of people get involved in these churches not because they want to glorify God, not because they want to give their life to service, not because they felt a call and a compunction and a lifting of the spirit in the presence of that which we cannot always understand, the vibrations of the one, which is the one. But they get into it because they want to touch kids, or they see an easy way to make money and drive a Lamborghini, right? Sure. Maybe they have some charisma. but they're not very funny. So instead of becoming stand-up comedians, they become preachers.
Yeah, but outside of the church, I love Joseph Campbell, Power of Myth. He said,
Yeah.
mythology informs us. It informs us, it gives us values, but at some point you have to change the software. And we know so much more, and it's time we change the software. And that, I think, would embody more critical thinking. You can still have your spirituality outside of the church where people want to touch people in the institutions. But so I've always agreed with that sentiment. We need to change the software and think differently now, and maybe accept these metaphors from every religion.
It's all Zen Buddhism at this point.
Yeah, that's what I love about Life of Pi, right? It was the guy was just doing a cocktail mix of all the religions he liked and says, I can garner stuff from each of these religions and be a pretty cool person.
That's the fundamental message is generally the same. Lisa, are we talking over you? Did you want to say something?
No,
Sorry.
it's fine. Religion is not usually a subject that I participate in, so I'm just listening.
That's fair.
Don't worry. I thank you for noticing, but I will jump in when I have something to say.
All right.
Okay. Let's see what else have we got here. Okay. Well, something I mentioned before you guys came on, and that is that Giuliani has lost his defamation suit by default against the two poll workers in Atlanta who he lied about.
Yeah.
He and Trump both lied about and claimed that they were stuffing ballot boxes in Fulton County for Biden, and that they were, quote, surreptitiously passing USB ports back and forth like they were heroin or cocaine.
Yeah.
And so the deal was he was supposed to turn.
Would you like to do a little bump in the polls?
Yeah, there you go. Nice. I need something else. He goes.
He was supposed to be turning over his financials to the court so they could look and see what it is he's worth, and he kept dicking around about it. Basically, it didn't turn it in, so they said enough. You lose by default.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. So there's got to be a trial now to find out, to determine how much he has to pay. That's all the trial is going to be about. How much do you have to pay? And what he's done to these women, I mean, he's destroyed these women. Their names, their reputations, they have to pay homes, death threats. I mean, it's unconscionable.
Yeah, they should take all his money and his New York apartments and his little vacation house in the Hamptons or whatever he's got, and his little Swiss bank account and all that stuff. It's embarrassing. He should be embarrassed. And he didn't even show up for the trial, right? He stipulated. So when they first did the thing, he just stipulated, like, everything they say is true. I was an ass.
It's sad. The fealty.
And then that was it.
It's the fealty to Dracula. They're all a bunch of Renfields, right? Doesn't matter how many people he kills as long as he can keep Mina, which is the presidency. This guy will just do anything. And right now he's the different forms, right? He's the werewolf. He's the guy in the top hat. Right now, this version of Trump is that pile of rats. It's like, look what you're going to do to me. It's the last version of it before Van Helsing. I always call Jack Smith and Fonnie Willis or Van Helsing. They're that guy at the end of Francis Ford Coppola's movie. He's in the cowboy hat who comes up and plants the knife right in the heart as the sun is coming up and he pops out of the box. That's who they are. And hopefully this is the last vestiges of this Dracula, you know.
You mean he can't be president from jail?
Probably could.
In theory, he could. And here's the scary part. He told Glenn Beck yesterday that if he's elected, he's going to put his political opponents in jail. He says, I have no choice because they've done it to us. That's what he said. We have no choice. So if you elect me, so here's what he said up front.
But didn't he say that last time he was going to put Hillary in jail?
Lock her up. You're right.
Yeah.
That's how it came up. Was asked about whether or not he regrets saying lock her up now, and he says no, he doesn't, because now that's exactly what he's going to do.
What's crazy is if he's in jail, he can't vote. That's on the books, but there's nothing that says that he can't be president.
Right.
So.
You know,
there's no precedence for that. I mean, you know, we're like, okay, what laws do we come up with? All right, prisoners can't vote. Okay, but presidents can't preside from jail. That's not going to happen. Well, fast forward 200 years in
it would be like a mafia don presidency, right? Like he ran the Gambino family for 5 years from prison. He'd just be sliding notes to Secret Service agents. And
you know how much time he's looking at? If he's convicted on everything, you know how much time he's looking at?
Like
8 million years?
717 years.
Good.
Oh my God. He only has 700 left.
Exactly. And
he's been siphoning the life energy of Mitch McConnell. That's why McConnell looks so tired.
inherent in this conversation, and I've tweeted this and I made a video about it on my Twitter, X rather, the people that say we have Trump derangement syndrome, I'm like, yeah, that's like the mayor of Amity Beach telling me I have great white shark syndrome. Yeah, I do, because the shark is still out there because you guys were too chicken to kill it. So yes, it's still killing people. I have great white shark derangement syndrome. Thank you very much, Mr.
Right?
Mayor.
That shark is still out on the beach blackmailing politicians.
Absolutely. So yes, be proud of your Trump derangement syndrome. Be proud that you're Roy Scheider, you're Brody and Hooper, and you want to get rid of this shark. Be proud of that. Wear it like a badge.
You're going to need a bigger vote.
If he does have to drop out, if in fact something happens and he does for whatever reason have to drop out, is there a Republican running right now who you think can beat Biden? Can
Nikki Haley.
You think Nikki Haley can beat Biden? I was just going to ask you that.
Ooh, wow. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think because she's sort of taken a stand against Trump, as it were, a little bit.
She said she'll pardon him. She says she'll pardon him if he's.
They all said that they would vote for him if he was the nominee. So
They all raised their hands.
Yeah,
they all raised their hands.
Guilty to Dracula. I sort of wish John Huntsman were running because I really like him. And actually, if he were the nominee against Biden,
there are no likable GOP candidates.
I do like John Huntsman. I have to say. I think he's intelligent. I think he's smart. I think he's mild-mannered. But God, Trump has set the bar so low.
Smart, intelligent, mild-mannered fascism and racism. That's my favorite flavor.
I don't think Huntsman's that type of guy. I think he respects democracy.
The GOP is fundamentally racist and fascist. They allowed it. They allowed it to happen to themselves, and there's really no way out of it. They're going to have to start a new party.
Well, no.
No, they're beholden to violent fascists. There's no way out, dog. How many people show up and just start gunning down people in streets? How many people? They've set up a whole stochastic terrorist lone wolf network. And they maybe didn't do it on purpose, but if you jump on the tiger's back, you got to ride it, dog.
I
that's
agree.
The challenge.
I agree. I think that's what they have a fealty to, but I don't think John Huntsman is that kind of guy. I don't think
it doesn't matter.
I don't think Adam Kinzinger
John
is
Huntsman
that
single-handedly is not going to change the minds of 10 million, 20 million, however many people voted for Trump, fascists?
I'm not saying that he is. I'm just saying that he's not one of those. And I'm glad you brought that up.
But he is one of those.
But what's
the old thing they say in German? If there's 9 Nazis at the table and a 10th person is sitting next to them, what do they call the 10th person? A Nazi.
Yeah, okay, I don't agree with that. I think that's a saying.
It's a saying, but it has truth. Sorry, Brian.
Here's how I disagree with this too, and that is because you're talking about the base right now. And when you're talking about the base and the majority of the party, Ngaio, you're absolutely right. However, you do have Republicans who are not crazy.
Rafflesberger.
When you talk about Kinzinger, when you talk about, and I don't agree with him at all. I don't agree with Liz Cheney on anything. Yeah. However, her integrity.
Liz Cheney would never win the Republican nomination.
She got censured. But so there's elements of both that are in truth. But I'm glad you brought up the fact that, unfortunately, a Republican candidate like Huntsman will not change the behavior of the base, which is why I always attack the far left, like the Jimmy Dores, who somehow think that a perfect Democratic candidate, the perfect liberal, like Jimmy, if he had the balls to run for anything, that he would suddenly solve the way the GOP behaves. That's not happening. This is why we do vote for Biden, because we live in a binary system where it's going to be vote on black or red. Don't put your money on that green thing. You're not going to win. So I agree with you, Ngaio. No candidate is going to change the behavior of the base. It's going to happen gradually. All you can do is defeat them, either politically or hopefully not in other means. But I agree. There's no miracle candidate that's going to change your behavior.
Tell me what's scarier to you. We know that there are a lot of MAGA kooks, and we know that there are a lot of MAGA lone wolves. We're seeing. I mean, this idiot with the manifesto in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
The attack on Paul Pelosi. They're not gonna attack in a horde like they did on January 6th again. You're gonna see individual lone kooks
Timothy McVeigh
coming after people. Yeah, McVeigh kind of people. So what scares you more, that Trump will win or that Trump will lose?
Win.
Because if Trump loses, you're going to see attacks from these lone wolf nuts. You are. And
I think you saw what happened to David Koresh. I think the army will be on the side, as much as they like to say we have people in the army. I I think the United States military would quell that pretty quickly. Right,
but that's the challenge, because it's not, and I mean, we're getting deep into some philosophical, futuristic woods here. If it were to be a modern civil war, it's not blue coats and gray coats skirmishing in Manassas, right? It's all terrorist cells and the IRA or the PLO, if you think about it like that. These QAnons and these guys, you know, it's all one guy shooting up a store. It's a bunch of guys trying to kidnap the governor. It's not a cohesive thing. And so that's the big challenge. And I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of establishment Democrats, everything, have a hard time prosecuting, or because you can't really find who to stop, because they're all spread out, and it's like X-Wings fighting the Death Star.
Yeah, but I'm more afraid of him winning than I have.
Clearly, right? I mean, if he wins, then it's really just open season. It's fucking, pardon my French, but you know what they say in True Romance. He must have thought it was White Boy Day.
Remember, we had a little reprieve after the inauguration, and we could breathe and feel like we don't have to follow the news every 10 minutes and like we're miss something. It was so nice to have that breather, but unfortunately, you know, he's back, and I don't know how his Teflon ability works. I don't know how he can go through January 6th and come through scot-free. But some of his minions who are spending time in jail from January 6th, I mean, are people turning on him, or it's just some people are turning on him? He still has the power. I mean, I'll follow his crap on social media and people are still convinced that he won. I mean, I don't know how stupid you can be, and I've never been someone who gets brainwashed, so I don't understand that thinking. But how can you see someone who, you know, has lied to you and does not have your interests in mind, does not sound intelligent, but somehow you still keep believing them as the great white savior?
From the moment he landed.
It's a cult. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. If you look up the characteristics of a cult and of a cult leader, that's exactly what this is. The cult leader says, everybody's lying to you but me. The cult leader says, I'm the only one who you should listen to. I'm the only one who's capable of fixing the problem.
Boy, that doesn't sound like Jimmy Dore's comedy tour at all.
Ah, Jesus!
Yeah.
You're like the
I'll
Stones
have
and
a
the Beatles
martini
at
and
this
yell at
point.
I'm not afraid of him. His minions, it is a cult, because when I attack Jimmy Dore, you should see how they come at me. They're all freaking Sea Org people. They all come after me. Because Jimmy can't be wrong. Because Jimmy has told me, man, that people are lying to us, man. And you're taking the vax, and you got the jab, man. And you don't know what a real Democrat is. Jimmy told me. They have the same level of zeal that MAGA does. Believe me, it is also a cult. And I implore other people not to be afraid to call it that, because that's what it is. Anytime you don't believe in a reality and try to create a reality where you have false autonomy, that's what a cult is. It's too. I
thought that was called show business.
It is called show. It's grifting. He's a grifter, exactly like Trump is. They're all grifters. Because it's not sexy to tell people the truth. I remember Bill Burr going on Joe Rogan, and they're talking about the vaccine, and Bill just looks at him and goes, come on, Joe, we're fucking comics. We don't know anything about the fucking vaccine. Just fucking take the shot. And Joe Rogan was just kind of like, oh, yeah, he just called it like it is. Are things going to have side effects? Yes, there's no perfect candidate. There's no perfect vaccine. There's no revolution. You know, the word revolution, the government. I read this article by Aaron Mate and Glenn Greenwald. Like, you're doing nothing. You do nothing. You sound like Conor McGregor. You just sit in your basement. You'll go to a comedy tour. You'll buy chicken fingers. You'll do nothing. You're doing nothing. You're just getting angry. But you're affecting no legislation. You're not doing anything. They're like the guys in the park with the plastic swords and the big beekeeper helmets. I teach self-defense. No, you don't. Get out of the park. I hate those guys. See, men hating men.
Well, here's the thing. I can't say that the LARPers actually teach self-defense, but I did know a guy in Portland who used to wear a sword.
Yeah. There you go.
A big one, too, like a hand and a half.
I knew a guy in Healdsburg, but that was a Renaissance fair. Never mind. That was
No, he was a bartender in Portland, but he just rocked a sword in his everyday attire. And I gotta say, I wasn't mad at it. It kind of made me want to take some sword lessons.
I'm going to completely shift gears. I want your take on this story. Okay, a guy in Trumbull, Connecticut is walking through the parking lot of his bank. He's gone to his bank and made a deposit or withdrawal or whatever, and he's walking through the parking lot, and he sees a bag, and he opens the bag up, and there's $5,000 in it. So he figures, finders keepers, and takes it and puts it in his car and takes it home. Well, it turns out that it is tax money for the city, and somebody who was making a deposit, somebody dropped that bag. So they do an investigation and they find the guy and they show up on his front porch and they arrest him for a third degree felony theft or something. And because they say that the bag that he took had the logo of the bank on the outside of it. And he denies it, but they say that it has the logo of the bank, and on the inside there were deposit slips and stuff. So he had a responsibility to return it to its rightful owners. So he's looking at 1 to 5 years in prison for not returning that money. So do you think that this guy should go to jail for this, or is he right? Look, I found it in the parking lot. Is it my fault that you dropped it?
I don't think he should go to jail. I think he should just return it and then say, there, you returned it. You're good to go.
I also agree he should just give the money back. It shouldn't be a felony. I mean, listen, if I have found money in weed in random spots, for sure. But if you're in the parking lot of the bank and you find a bag with the bank's logo on it and some deposit slips in it, you should probably just take the money into the bank and somebody dropped this in the parking lot, right? It's not like he was walking down Main Street and he just found a random bag with $5,000 in it. I mean, you could keep it, but you should also wonder if the mafia or the local drug dealers are going to come after you if you found somebody's loot as well. And if you consider banks to be the mafia or the local drug dealers, they will come after you. People don't worry about money.
He found the bag. He didn't go into the Brinks truck and steal it. He didn't go to a store and steal it. He found it. Should he go to jail? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Even though there was, according to law enforcement, which again he denies, but according to law enforcement, there were clear identifying marks as to who it belonged to.
I'm gonna go this far. Not only should he not have to go to jail, the bank should give him $500.
Yeah, for finding it.
For keeping the money safe.
Yeah.
Keeping the money safe. He took it home and he spent it.
He should get a reward.
If he found a puppy and took it home and kept it safe.
Ngaio's right. He didn't invest that money in foreign banks overseas like a bank would or ventures. He put the money back into the economy.
The local economy.
The local economy.
Right?
He should not go to jail.
The strip clubs and fancy coffee joints were very excited to see him for a month.
Making it rain is not a felony.
He should get a reward for finding the money.
Yeah, 10%.
I like it.
A finder's fee.
Well, there was
$4,500. Because I only got 500 left, man. You should have been here 2 weeks ago. Yeah. I got bills, dog. They put a lien on my house. I had to do a lot of things.
I remember about 15 years ago, there was a story, and I can't remember if it was in San Francisco or it was somewhere in California, where a Brinks truck overturned.
On the freeway.
Was that on the freeway? Is that where it was?
There was one where it happened on the freeway. Yeah.
And money was flying everywhere, and people were running and picking up money and filling their pockets. And there was a big moral debate about whether or not those people were thieves.
I know a lot of y'all don't believe in God, but I will say that God works in mysterious ways. And sometimes people just need some money. And sometimes you just find it when a brink truck overturns. That money's insured, right? Where people went wrong was they videotaped themselves in their full face picking up money from the brink truck on the freeway. You're supposed to pull your hat over your head and get your biggest bag out the trunk and grab as much as you can and split and cover your license plates and split. Don't, get those blessings anonymously. Money is not real anyway. Don't get me started on this whole thing.
No, you're right. It's not real. It's just paper and coins and Bitcoin.
It's an agreement. It's a trust exercise, like driving.
I think I'm bougie and well off enough or whatever where I would feel guilty and return the money, but I can't expect that of somebody else that has different circumstances. So I have no problem. Brinks truck turns over, you find a bank of money on the street, you do what you need to do. Do what you need to do.
Grandmother used to
I got
tell
no
me a
judgment.
story. my grandma was a clothes presser at a cleaners for years and years and years and years. Single mother, and there was a period of time she was just really really broke, and couldn't afford. How she was going to pay the rent, how she was going to buy milk for my mother, how she was going to take care of. She had no idea what she was going to do, and she's pressing this suit, and she feels that minute, and it's $100 bill. And what Ngaio said. He said, "This is God working. Knowing how badly I need this. I got to buy milk for my daughter and put a roof over her head." And she kept the $100. And even years later, I would go, "So do you feel guilty about that?" She said, "No. That was God working in mysterious ways. Making sure that I was able to buy milk."
God doing a reverse pickpocket.
Came up on $100. Listen, that dude can afford to get his suit pressed, and he could afford to not realize he got $100 in it. So,
if it was a dude,
yeah, that's a good point. Would it be nice to be? Isn't it nice to be able to lose like money like that and not that upset? Or is it ever nice to lose $100 and not? I've lost $100 and not been that upset, and then I've lost $100 and been freaked out. It depends on
it depends on the day. Freelancer lifestyle. I've turned my car inside out on $5 once.
Yeah.
What's the old joke about the guy standing there at the stadium? So they're at the long urinal, right? They're standing there, and one guy's peeing, and a dollar bill falls out of his pocket into the urinal, the big trough type urinal. And he's like, "Oh, damn it." So he reaches his wallet and he pulls out a $100 bill and he throws it in there. And the guy standing next to him goes, "What the hell are you doing?" He says, "Well, I'm not reaching in there for $1."
Yeah, nice. I love that. Way better than the joke I used to try. If you find it heads up in a urinal, is it really a lucky penny?
Fair enough.
I just can't believe that you guys pee together in public bathrooms. That just
I need a wall. I agree with you, Lisa. I need a wall. I need that partition. I can't do a trough anymore.
No, I can't. Remember Candlestick had that trough where we'd have to stand in a circle.
Yeah.
The trough was literally a circle. You're peeing next to guys and across from guys and peace.
In San Francisco too, some enterprising soul set up some sort of weird, freaky Craigslist shit for the middle of the night at the Candlestick Park urinal.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine. I can't imagine a bunch of women squatting together. It's just so incomprehensible as a woman that a bunch of guys I was producing a comedy show at the Herbst, and Mayor Brown was there at the time, and a friend of mine's like, "Oh, I just came out of the bathroom. I was just peeing next to the mayor." I mean, I just would never be peeing next to London Breed.
That's so bar. Maybe on Yellow Jackets, you'd see women peeing together. That's
a great show, by the way.
Yeah, I really love it. Yeah,
that's one of my favorite shows. Yellow Jackets. If you've not seen, now this is a plug. If you've never seen Yellow Jackets, see it.
Really good.
See it.
Really good.
We're just plugging our favorite shows now. Kunk on Earth.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
That's a funny show. Kunk on Earth, Philomena Kunk on Earth. It's a Netflix show. Okay. It's like a mockumentary about the history of the Earth.
Yeah, she was the woman from Afterlife.
Yeah, she's hilarious.
She's wonderful.
It's so funny. There's only like 5 episodes.
Heartstoppers, a very sweet gay teen series from England. 2 seasons so far. Beautiful.
I've heard a lot about that. I'll have to check it out.
What's the
gorgeous.
name again?
Heartstoppers.
Okay.
It's based on a graphic novel, and there's 2 seasons, and it's just the characters, the dialogue, the themes, the kids coming out, kids being friends with each other who are gay. It's just coming out to a mother's scene. It's just beautiful.
Oh, that's great.
All right. So while we're talking entertainment, this is a perfect segue. One of the things I do when I prep for the show is I look and I see what's trending on X. I refuse to call it X, on Twitter.
His mama named him Twitter. I'm gonna call him Twitter.
His name was not Malcolm Twitter. It was anyway. I look to see what's trending, and Meg Ryan was trending. I'm like, why the hell is Meg Ryan trending?
She's still alive, right?
What did she do? I'll have what she's having.
She's got a movie coming out. The first rom-com she's done in 14 years. She's 61 now, and she has written and directed a rom-com that is going to open in October.
Facelift in Seattle.
Pardon?
Facelift in Seattle. Sorry, I had to go there.
Well, Her and David.
Boy Talks in Boise. Boy Talks. Get it? BOY-TOX.
Well, it's her and David Duchovny, and the premise is that they had dated 25 years ago and hadn't seen each other since the breakup, and they're stuck in an airport together. Their planes have all been canceled and delayed, and they're stuck, and they go through their relationship and what worked, what didn't, and that's 2 hours. And they're hoping it's the return of the rom-com, because rom-coms have been dead for a long time.
Yes.
So I like rom-coms. I'll admit it.
Oh yeah.
I'll fess up. I liked Meg Ryan's movies when she was at her peak.
I got no problem with it. Meg Ryan is awesome.
Yeah, I like it. And women of
Rom-coms
that
are great.
age should be able to be in rom-coms. If you could have Jack Nicholson and his age being pursued by Helen Hunt, I think it's fair for a woman at 61 to have her own rom-com.
I'm 60.
I'm with you. I mean,
Are you 60, Lisa?
I'm 61 as well.
61. You 62, baby?
61. 1962. Yeah, July.
Y'all should do a rom-com.
We can do a rom-com.
All right, let's do it. I actually just wrote my first screenplay.
Voiceless in Vancouver.
There you go.
I just wrote my first screenplay.
Oh, yeah, congratulations.
Because I've been living with my mother in her retirement community in Florida during the whole pandemic. Because I came to visit March 2020 for 2 weeks. The pandemic hit. I stayed for 17 months, and the last 2 years I've been commuting back and forth, like 2 to 3 months in Florida, a month back in San Francisco.
That's
and I just
great.
wrote a screenplay about the hypothetical situation of a San Francisco comedian who goes to visit her mother in Florida in the beginning of the pandemic and stays.
I
I
love
bet
it.
it's hilarious.
I'm right there. My mom's on a
That's
memory
good
floor in Los Angeles, and
Mm.
2-3 days a week I'm there. So you've got an audience right here.
All right.
I'm down for watching that.
Lisa, tell me about Florida right now, and about Florida under DeSantis, because like the NAACP put out a travel advisory telling Black people not to go to Florida because it's unwelcoming and not safe. But in terms of how crazy and far right the policies have got, I mean,
D. Wade moved out.
I mean, I'm living in a Democratic stronghold. I see a Trump bumper sticker every so often, and I know intellectually what DeSantis is saying and doing, and him being booed in Jacksonville. But I'm not seeing every day like DeSantis on the corner. I'm not taking trying to take African American studies, but all of the home health aides that my mom and all of her friends have are all Haitian, and so I didn't know about the travel alert.
Yeah.
But it's not shocking to me.
And Dwayne Wade said, I don't feel safe with my kids. So they moved.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you in Southern Florida?
Yeah, I'm in Boynton Beach, South Florida. We're not getting.
You know what they say about Florida is the further north you go, the farther south you get.
Yeah. I love that.
Sure. Did you ever play Jacksonville? There used to be a Funny Bone in Jacksonville.
No, I used to play Uncle Funny's in West Palm, or in Plantation, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I refuse to play.
Uncle Funny's was in
Plantation. Just on general principle, I'm not playing at a place called Plantation.
Yeah.
Just on GP.
Not even gonna eat it.
Those are my opening jokes. To be here in Plantation, Florida, I had to come in on the back airport.
Nice. I'm playing in the big comedy room tonight. The main house.
So speaking of playing, what's everybody got to plug? Ngaio, anything you want to plug?
I'm going to be in Oklahoma City on September 16th for the Candor and Cannabis Conference, and then I will be in Missouri the week after that for the Missouri Growers Cup, and I'll be in Slovenia this coming week for the International Cannabis Business Conference Science and Technology Forum.
Wow.
Okay, so tell me about all these cannabis events. Are you speaking on a panel or are you performing?
I'm emceeing, so I'm the master of ceremonies for the Science and Technology Conference, and then I'm performing at the Candor and Cannabis event, and then I'm a guest judge and the host for the event at the Missouri Growers Cup.
Are the audiences high?
Yeah, not so much of the Science and Technology Forum. Actually, at the Science and Technology Forum, I have to remind them that it's a plant and not just a bunch of chemicals, right? All the time, we get into it all the time because the challenge that they're having, here comes an info dump, is scientists and medicinal people, when you look at cannabis for medicinal things, they want to be able to say, if you have this, then you need this. If you have this, then you smoke this. If you have this, then you smoke this. But it doesn't work like that. Terpenes are different for everybody. The effects of cannabis is different for everybody. So for some people, Blue Dream might be the one. For other people, OG Kush or Trainwreck or whatever, birthday cookies might be the strain. So I'm always like, let's remember that there's still some magic involved. It's not an exact science, and you can't keep trying to put a thing on chaos. And you got to stop with this monoculture bullshit, because that's how you end up with the Cavendish banana, and that's also about to die out. And so,
you told me when I was a kid that there would be legitimate conversations on this topic. And there would be conferences actually on this topic. I would have said you were.
We've gone from a felony to an essential service. You're welcome.
Carlos, anything you want to mention?
Let's see. September 8th through 10, I'll be in Poconos, Pennsylvania for the Colossal Con, signing autographs. And yeah, aforementioned people, meeting fans of all walks of life, hopefully. And then Midwest Toy Con at the end of September, I think September 29th or October 1st, however those dates line up, that last week in September in Bloomington, Illinois, doing the Midwest Toy Comic Fest. So there's things I'm doing on Nickelodeon, but because of the SAG strike, I'm not sure I should plug it, but those things are coming out in the fall, hopefully, and staying busy working with our friend Tom Kenny on Camp Coral when I can.
Woohoo!
I haven't seen Tom in forever. Tell him I
said hello.
And Lisa, what's up with you?
Well, since July 2020, I've been producing a monthly comedy show on Zoom called Lockdown Comedy. We used to have 250 people, but we have like 30 in the audience, and people still come, so we still continue that. So September 21st is the third Thursday of the month. September 21st is the next show. Ophira Eisenberg headlining out of New York, and Cynthia Levin and Eve Meyer. And then this December 23rd to 25th, the 31st annual Kung Pao Kosher Comedy, Jewish comedy on Christmas, in a Chinese restaurant. Wendy Liebman will headline, and Rich Aronovich and Talia Reese out of New York. And I've been doing the show since 1993, came to me as a joke. And then 2020 and 2021 were completely virtual. And last year for the 30th anniversary, we were back in person, but keeping the virtual element because I've got an audience around the country now who wants to come to the show, or, doesn't want to fly to San Francisco, or they don't want to gather.
That's a good idea. I want to talk to you about that later, because I've had
let's talk.
That's great.
So keeping up the virtual aspect of the show. The first year, 2020, we had 2,000 people altogether over the 3 shows. The next year was 1,000, and then we've had about 500 people still watching virtually.
That's cool though.
I did the last television interview with Henny Youngman. I was doing mornings on 2, and he was doing your show.
Promoting my show. December 1997, right?
Wow.
So
he was the last one, and he was. How was he on stage that night? Because I remember that they kept drilling him with 3 jokes they wanted him to tell, and they kept repeating them over and over and over and over. And then when the light came on, he told the 3 jokes, and I had to sign off, and he kept talking. He wouldn't let me sign. He wasn't like all there. How was he? How was the show?
He was great. How much time do you have? Okay, I found out from Terry Gross interview years ago that he was listed in the Manhattan phone book. So I called information listing Manhattan, city Manhattan listing Henny Youngman, hold for the number. I call him, I talk to him, I talk to his manager, I invite him to perform. Then they tell me, if you're going to be in New York, we'll take you out to lunch at the Friars Club. So a month later, I go out to lunch with him at the Friars Club at his table in New York. Everyone's coming over and wishing him good health. But when he walks into the Friars Club and he's leaned over, old man, disheveled hair, and I think, oh my God, what did I do? And then during the meal, he kept offering little tidbits of sagely comments. And then he was sitting in his wheelchair, asleep in the green room, 10 minutes before I'm going to introduce him. I'm like, oh my God, did I make a mistake? I introduce him. He comes onto the stage, complete pro. But his manager had to sit in front of him with cue cards with 1 and 2 words on them because he was 91. And that year, one of the 2 beneficiaries was a Jewish domestic violence organization. And one of the cards said murder. The joke is divorce isn't a word in my house, murder, yes. And I'm like, we have to steal the murder card because this organization is
It's
one
a
of the
heist movie.
beneficiaries. So he was great. He did 8 shows, but he got a cold and then it turned into pneumonia. And 2 months later, he died. But just on the exoneration level, I spoke to his daughter and she was thrilled that her kids, his grandchildren got to see him perform for the first time ever on stage, dignified in a tuxedo. And the last time they got to see Grandpa alive was performing on stage as opposed to in the hospital. And he died doing what he loved. But I've been accused since 1997 of killing him. That's one thing.
He was 91.
Everything I said is totally serious.
You're killing me, Smalls.
I couldn't leave the house for the first 6 months after he died without people going, running into them at Rainbow Grocery. Oh, you killed Henny Youngman. At Rainbow Grocery, where you're not supposed to say such things.
I hate to say it, you got another screenplay. I killed Henny Youngman.
Yeah.
Oh my God! They killed Henny! You bastards!
Yes.
Well, if you look at his New York Times obit, I don't remember if Kung Pao's mentioned by name or just the fact that he did his last show at a Chinese restaurant in San Francisco.
Wow.
See, that's the story. The story's not that you killed Henny Youngman. The story is that you produced the last Henny Youngman show.
Yeah.
That's
where he killed.
What the legacy is. You killed him.
Yeah.
So the movie's called Kill and Be Killed.
Yeah.
And I was 35 at the time, and he had been performing for twice my lifetime, 70 years. He was 91. Wow. And it was the first time I ever almost cried on my stage because I got so choked up introducing him. This was the 5th year of the show, and that really put the show on the map. Well, the New York Times article the second year also did, but just having Henny Youngman representing the show, that was pretty magical.
That's awesome.
He called me Sid. I think he thought I was Sid Caesar. I don't know, on stage he referred to me as Sid. And then I went to his memorial.
It's short for Hasidic.
I went to his memorial at the LA Friars Club and got to see Sid Caesar speaking in tongues, and Jack Carter and Shid Cerise and all these people who were there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Jack Carter. Did you talk to Jack? There's a Jack Carter joke that used to go around because he was the word is that he was kind of
he was not nice.
Okay, yeah, I'm being delicate.
Yeah, I'm being delicate too. He was a total bastard. He was on stage bashing Henny at his memorial. Yeah.
Well, the joke is that these 3 women get off of a Greyhound bus in Hollywood, and they're talking about their aspirations and what they're going to do. And the first one says, "Well, I'm going to go to Universal Studios and see if I can get a contract. What are you going to do?" And the second one says, "Well, I'm going to go to the William Morris Agency and see if I can get an agent." I go to the third one, "What are you going to do?" He goes, "I'm going to screw Jack Carter." Goes, "What do you mean?" Well, she goes, "Wherever I go, people say screw Jack Carter."
I love it.
Sorry, I laughed before the punchline.
That's pretty good.
And on that,
it's a tourist attraction.
Carlos Alazraqui and Lisa Geduldig, thank you so much for being with us. It's a pleasure to have you. I hope you'll come back and you'll do it again. I hope you will come back and do it again. And I will, when you come to town, Carlos, I will hook you up with Adam.
Thank you. And likewise, I think he said he might be in town September 17th weekend for a Niner game at the Rams. And I said, I'll take you to the LAFC versus the Galaxy if he's in town. So we'll make it happen.
Because I mean, it totally, he's like totally over the moon that you are a fan of his, because he's been a fan of yours since he was 5 years old.
Well, he learned from the best. No, I meant you.
He meant me. What do you?
That's what I meant.
Ngaio?
I thought you meant me.
All right, guys. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Brian.
Bye.
All right, that's going to do it for this week. If you want to support the show, there are a number of ways you can do it. In terms of the podcast version of it, we are on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, we're on Amazon. Let your friends know, whatever platform you're listening to us on, go and give us a 5-star review. That helps people to find the show. If you are watching us on YouTube, we're trying to get 1,000 subscribers. Once we have 1,000 subscribers, we can do this live. Right now, we pre-tape this, And we pre-tape Wednesdays. It drops on Thursdays. Once we have 1,000 subscribers, we can do it live, which means you can chime in and you can be a part of the conversation, which would be wonderful. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I will check you out next week. Till then, be kind to your neighbor. He knows where you live.